Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Zayne, and on this channel I react to videos I'm interested in. So if that sounds like your thing, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get alerted whenever I post, and remember to give this video a big thumbs up. Today I have another reaction video for you guys, and I'm really excited about this one. The title is Most Nigerians Think I'm Crazy by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. If you don't know Chimamanda, I believe she's a Nigerian writer, but she lives in the US, and many of her books have, been converted to movies. I don't know if that's a term for it, but I have watched one of them, Half of a Yellow Sun. It was actually an accident, kind of like a positive accident, because I was at the movies with a friend once and there was nothing else showing except that movie because it was kind of late. So that was one we ended up watching, and it was really nice. I enjoyed it, and that was my first introduction to Chimamanda. I do not follow her, I will say this right now. I do not follow her, but I am somewhat familiar with her rhetoric, and I do agree with most of it, or at least I do agree with the ones I've heard. All the stuff I've heard her say, I agree with. I know some people think, she's too much and all of that. Based on this title, I believe that's what she's going to talk about in this video, though I haven't watched it yet. But I will say that I was at an event once, and this event, the funny thing is, this event was for people who you would expect to be open-minded, kind of like free thinkers, creatives, stuff like that. That was what the event was for. So the people there were people like that, and they were mostly women. So you'd expect that, okay, they probably should be thinking towards that in that direction, or around the same, neighborhood as her, as Chimamanda, regarding her feministic views and all of that. Obviously, not all women, not everyone, and definitely not every woman will be feministic in their views, but also not all people who are even feministic in their views agree on the same feministic values. That's one of the things about feminism, and why I disagree with that term. But many people term her a feminist, and my point is, when I was at that event and her name came up, I won't deny, people said some things that were not the most flattering about her. I thank God I wasn't a part of that conversation, but I was hearing it, and I disagreed in my mind even at that point in time. But I was about to leave, so I did not have time to stand there and start arguing with people. But people were like, oh, she does too much, oh, like she's extra, she says, oh, this, that. Again, I was not in the mood because I was about to leave. Time was going and the event was over, so yeah. But when she says most Nigerians think I'm crazy, I believe she's not just plucking that out of thin air. She must have heard certain things from certain people who are Nigerians like her, and I would just guess and say many of those people are actually women, from my own experience, right? So anyway, let's dive into it.
I think women's hair is political, right? In the way that, white women have to cover their grays, that sort of thing. But black women's hair in particular. And I think it's because America is a country that is deeply racist. And so race becomes a thing and hair becomes a thing. In Nigeria, not so much. Because Nigerians don't care. We're just like, whatever. Everybody has a long weave that reaches their knees and they're just fine. But I think hair is political for black women, in the sense that I think that black women really are the only people in the world who are expected to change the hair that nature gave them in order to fit what is called the mainstream ideal. And so to have natural hair then becomes a political statement when you don't want it to be. Right, in the way that when white women let their grey show, people think, oh, maybe she's crunchy and she does yoga, right? But maybe she just doesn't want to put color in her hair. And so when a black woman wears her hair natural, they're like, maybe she's very black power and very Angela Davis, and but actually she just doesn't want chemicals in her hair. But there are consequences for it, because she goes for an interview and people are already thinking she's not a good cultural fit.
I know she's talking about like the American culture here, which I know very little about, admittedly, but I will say that even here in Nigeria, that kind of rhetoric and that kind of, I'm just going to call it brainwashing, has penetrated the minds of not only women but men as well. Because even when you put chemicals in your hair and your hair is relaxed and all of that, but you still haven't attached something to it, you haven't put something extra in it so that it looks sleek like the hair of people of other races, then you will be seen as not well put together. Again, this is not the same as, you know, the way you are viewed in the American culture, obviously, but I remember there were friends of mine who, when we were in school, in university, they put chemicals in their hair quite alright, but they just combed it and packed it with a hair bond, and they went to class, and they said that some of the guys in their class were like, well, why do both of you look unkempt? What he meant by why do both of you look unkempt was that they had just combed their hair and packed it. Even though there was chemical in it, it wasn't frizzy like, and I use frizzy in a positive light. I would never use frizzy in a negative light regarding my hair, because my hair is, you know, that way. But their hair wasn't frizzy, it wasn't spongy, it was relaxed, so it was straight, but they just packed it because they hadn't put on wigs, they hadn't put on weave-ons, they hadn't put on hair extensions, they hadn't used anything in addition to what they had. So that is basically the experience even in Nigeria. So that kind of thinking has so penetrated the minds of people that it's just difficult to, you know, make it make sense. But let's keep listening.
Because she's wearing the hair that God gave her. I find that to be just a deeply sad thing. And it's going on today. I have many friends who have dreads in the US, and they go for interviews, and already you can tell someone's looking at you thinking you're not a good cultural fit. And the evidence for that is your hair. But that's actually the hair that God gave you. Right? So you spend so much time trying to change yourself to fit a certain ideal. And we don't.
And when you spend so much time trying to fit a certain ideal, when do you ever get the time to begin to actually see what you have, and let alone begin to actually appreciate the value and the beauty of what you are, what you have?
Realize how much that can sort of take the energy from your spirit. It can. So when I decided to wear my hair natural, I mean, even my mother thought this was terrible. She's like, you need to do something about that hair.
It doesn't look pretty.
It's changing a little, I think, but there's still a certain bravado that one has to have.
What I mean is, it doesn't look pretty to people because they are used to seeing straight, sleek, flat, long hair that doesn't look the way our hair grows out of our heads. Alright? So to them, it doesn't look pretty. And I'm saying this because when I decided to wear my hair natural as well, before that time, before I actually began to appreciate what my hair looked like naturally, I did not see natural hair as pretty. And so many people who are still mentally, who are still where I was before, are going to see natural hair the way I used to see natural hair then, which is that it is not pretty. But in fact, it actually is. Right, so I see where her mother is coming from.
To wear your hair natural, there's still a certain fuck you-ness to doing it, and even that is exhausting. Right, it would be nice to be able to just wear your hair, right, and just even braids. I think my sister here probably has some experiences, right? Even braids is a problem because they're like a cultural fit. I don't think that when we reach the goal of making feminism redundant, eradicating racism, and all of those things, it's not going to necessarily be a utopia. We're not all going to get along. We shouldn't all get along, right? But I think the difference will be that the differences will be more substantive and be about, so the woman who goes for an interview will not get the job because she's just not
capable,
right? or just not knowledgeable about the subject, rather than because she has dreadlocks or because she's an observant Muslim and is covered, right? I think that's what it would be. And
thank you.
Again, this is why I think maybe storytelling makes a difference. I think if we tell more stories of people, I think even simple things like a Netflix show can start to change the perception. If we humanize people, right? If we start to see that a woman who chooses to be covered, isn't necessarily this terribly oppressed woman who will, wear a bomb and go whatever. Storytelling matters because it humanizes people. We start to see, my goodness, this is a human being like me. And then we're less likely to think that if you look a particular way, it must be that you accept particular things.
Amen.
When people ask me, talk about Nigeria, I'm thinking, if only you knew how many people in Nigeria think I'm crazy, then you shouldn't be asking me to talk about Nigeria, right? It's kind of a constant negotiation. It means a lot to me that my presence in the world means something in particular to women, to black women, to women of color, to Africans. That means a lot to me, right? I do feel a sense, I find it quite moving. So it matters to me, this idea that hopefully the writing that I do opens doors for other people who look like me, that kind of thing. But also sometimes it worries me because there are people think, if you're an African feminist, there's a way to be. And I think my whole life has been about wanting to shrug off that idea that there is a way that I should be, because all I want is to be the way that I am. And that's where identity can become a bit constraining. I get emails from Nigerians who say, you represent Nigeria, you should not write in your book about people having sex. But that's not African. I get people who say to me, you cannot call yourself a feminist because that's not African. And I just think, well, it is now because, but it's always a constant, it's a constant sort of balancing act, because there are times when I really chafe against representing a whole. When people say, what is it like to be? I'm like, I don't know.
Right. Thank you. Shout out. Like I said, I don't follow Chimamanda, but follow her. But whenever I listen to any stuff she says, which is just once in a while, like in this instance, I agree with everything she says 100%. So it's just, yeah, facts from A to Z, facts. And there's just so much to talk about this topic, but the various subtopics that she dived into, we could dive into each one of them and spend hours and still be unable to exhaust what we have to say about them. But we'll just stop here for now. Thank you so much for watching this video till this very end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you disagree with what she said, if you agree with what she said, or if you have your own experiences with hair as a black person, with like the non-straight, non-slick, non-super long hair type, and how that is perceived by people, then you can share that in the comment section below. Or if you have experiences with being a person who covers for religious purposes like Muslims do, and you have your own experiences with the way you are perceived by people who are not of that faith, whether it's for school or for work, etc., then you can share that in the comment section below. Maybe at a later date we will have the time to actually sit down and talk about some of these things. Like, what I would like to do, even though I know this channel I'm dedicating to just reactions and stuff, what I'd actually like to do is sit down one of these days and actually rant about some of these things, because human beings do too much. Okay, human beings do too much sometimes, and sometimes, like you said, storytelling works. Okay, storytelling works most of the time, but sometimes you just have to rant so that people can wake up. All right, sometimes ranting is what works, so that people can wake up and they can understand that they are just doing too much, they are doing the most. Okay, but anyway, that day will not be today. Again, thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Once again, if you have not subscribed, please do so right now and give this video a giant thumbs up, and share this with whomever you think might enjoy it. I will see you next time.